Hello and welcome to Math 126, which is Applied Statistics for the Fall 2019 semester. My name is Mike Deal, and I will be your professor and guide through the next 8 weeks or so for our class. So this video is mostly just getting oriented with the course, with the Canvas page, which is what we're looking at right now, as well as getting set up for the ebook and homework system, and just sort of showing you where to go to find the lecture videos and all that good stuff. So after this video, you should hopefully be all set to begin the course. And away we go. So this is our Canvas page. So hopefully you've taken a course, an online course before that uses any course that uses Canvas. But in case you haven't, this is the Canvas interface. All of the content for the course will be here in Canvas. The gradebook and whatnot will also be here in Canvas. So most of the things you need are here. The only thing that you'll do elsewhere is completing the homework, which I'll show you a little later in this video. But in terms of the layout, the content is organized into modules. So if your screen, when you come into our course, doesn't look like this, I think if you click on modules over here on the side, it'll for sure, hopefully, make it look like this, which is probably a good general place to always be going when you come in here. The material is organized in units or topics, and there are 6 instructional units, so unit 1, 2, and 3, and then there'll be a midterm exam, and then there's 3 more units, so 4, 5, and 6, and then a final exam. So the course is pretty easy to kind of see how it's laid out. The midterm will cover the first 3 units, and the final exam covers the second 3 units, or the second half of the course. So within Canvas, I'll show you a few other features maybe as we go through this. But first, the first thing to click on is maybe our syllabus. So if you want to, you can click on the syllabus right here. And it should open up hopefully a Word document, which I think hopefully looks like this. So I'll just go through this. This sort of contains a lot of the info that we'll need, and I'll flash back and forth between Canvas and here as needed. So here we are. Our course runs from October 28th through December 20th. The course is fully online on day 1 or day whatever this is that you're looking at or hearing this video. So you can begin the course anytime you want. You don't have to wait until the 28th of October to finish it. And on the other end of this dates, you don't have to wait until December 20th to finish it. You can do this at your own pace. There are due dates, of course, for things, so you can't do the entire course on December 19th, I guess, but you're welcome to complete the course early. You're always welcome, and in fact encouraged to work ahead and complete things before they're due. So feel free to work ahead as your life schedule dictates. But we'll get into that when we go to Canvas. So this is me. I teach in the math department here at Endicott. This is my 13th year teaching. I teach full-time in the day school, and teach some Van Loan classes online mostly, usually during the off semester, like the January and summer terms, but sometimes during the regular semesters as well. So I am on campus, and that I have an office where I see my day school students, which is in the Life Science and Business Building 115. So if you do happen to be local and happen to be on campus and do want to meet in person, I am around. But I would say mostly you'll probably want to just reach out to me via email if you have questions. So of course my email address is there. So feel free to contact me if you need anything. I list my campus extension, but I don't really answer, or I'm not in my office all that often. So probably just send me an email if you need anything. So what is this course all about? It's a very typical intro to statistics course. It sort of covers the basics of both statistics from a kind of mathematical perspective and then also from a sort of more practical everyday perspective. And I think for a lot of students taking the course, I think it's a pretty good experience in that if we as humans see statistics and they're all around us, and this will at least give you some sense of what a lot of those numbers that get thrown at you might mean. But by no means is this a comprehensive course in everything you need to know about statistics. So some of you may be going on after this, or maybe you already have taken some research methods kinds of courses or other things like that are maybe preparation for thesis style courses. So there's certainly far more to be told, I guess, about the story. But this gives us gives you a nice introduction to the field and some tools that you certainly may use in either your studies or maybe even your work life. In particular, we'll be doing everything in Excel. So if you're not super familiar with Excel, you'll have a much friendlier relationship with Excel after completing this course. So anyway, so that's the general description. I should say on that topic, in terms of backgrounds and whatnots, I do always get some emails from students either before the semester or probably also even during the semester explaining how they haven't taken math in a long time and that it was not exactly their favorite subject in high school or wherever it was the last time you took a math class. And I always say, well, in many ways, this is not a computational math class in the sense that we're going to be using technology, namely Excel mostly, to do most computation. So if your concern is I don't know how to do fancy math computations, the good news is you don't have to worry about that. We'll have technology to handle that. Now, on the flip side, this is a math class, so of course there will be lots of mathematical thinking, and that hopefully is not as scary as it sounds, but you do or will hopefully be all right with thinking logically about quantitative reasoning skills and using general math know-how. So all of this is to say, while there is no prerequisite, you don't need to have taken a course in fill in the blank. Certainly no calculus or anything like that is needed for this course, but general math skills, certainly a comfort level with just talking about numbers. Even algebra, which is something that everyone I'm sure took at some point in your lives. We're not even going to really use algebra, but yes, of course, there will be I'm reading a word problem and have to sort of digest what this means mathematically. So there is that piece. Anyway, so all of this is to say that while there is no prerequisite, I'm hoping that if you have some concerns about taking a math class, that you don't kind of obsess about that. I think in a lot of students that I've had over the many years, you sort of already assume, well, I'm bad at math, so this class is going to go badly. And of course, that probably is what happens, is that the class does go badly because you're mostly thinking, well, I know I'm not going to be able to do this, or I know I'm going to have trouble with this. And I think a better approach is to say, well, even if I've had bad experiences in the past, this is a new class and a new situation and maybe even a new format. And so, I'm going to sort of give it a fresh start and not be overly concerned with issues from the past. So I've had plenty of students say, I've always been terrible at math and I've always had trouble, but this class was actually pretty good, was fine for me. So maybe more so listen to those folks, and hopefully you'll be all right. So anyway, so that's about the course. There is a topical outline here. I would say don't pay too much attention to this. These are roughly the three areas, though, that we'll be covering. I guess I shouldn't totally breeze past the fact that there is quite a bit of time dedicated to this course. As with any 3-credit course, there should be approximately 135 hours of work completed in order to fulfill the credit requirements. And so roughly your time will be spent watching lecture videos, um, and completing problems, completing homework problems, and of course studying in between, but also of course for exams. So there's quite a time commitment to this. So and as we are in about a 7 week or so, 7 or 8 week period, there is an expectation of spending at least 10, but in many weeks 20 hours a week on this course. So there'll be some weeks where it's probably less than that, and you'll sort of breeze through all right, and other weeks where this is going to be quite a time commitment. So I say this up front just to say if you're having if the next 2 months of your life is busy with personal things or work things or anything else, if this isn't the right time to take the course, it runs every single quarter. So fall, winter, summer, spring, and summer. So there's many other opportunities to take this class either in this online format or in person. So I would just say if you're feeling I know it's the holiday season. This course runs over Thanksgiving for sure, and runs into the December holidays as well, or at least the beginning parts. So if you're kind of feeling like this isn't a good time to be, setting aside 10 to 20 hours a week for this course, you may want to contact your advisor and see about switching to to take it during a different session. But hopefully, you've already thought about that before signing up for the course. So let's get to some nuts and bolts things. So we will be using an ebook that's bundled with a homework system, an online homework system. The book is called Elementary Statistics, Picturing the World. And I'll show you how to sign up for the book in a few minutes. But this is we won't use the book a whole lot for the first assignment. I will be asking you to read chapter 1 in the book, which is not very long, and is just sort of an overview of statistics and basics. And then beyond that, the lecture videos that I've made for the course sort of take over. But the book is always there in case you want some extra examples or want to get someone else's take on a particular topic. So there'll be the textbook, and it's bundled with the homework system, which is all handled through a organization called MyStatLab. So this is a website that you'll be going to complete all of the homework. And if you've done online homework assignments before, you sort of know the drill. You click on the assignment, and in this case, since it's a math course, the problems pop up, and you complete them, and enter your answers and all that good stuff. These are bundled together, the ebook and the MyStatLab, the homework portion. So when you purchase this, you'll be purchasing them together, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. And other things that you will want for the course. So Excel, Microsoft Excel, which is, of course, the spreadsheet software that is part of the Microsoft Office package, is what we'll be using for the course. Pretty much any version of Excel, it should be fine. If you're on a Mac, if you're on a Windows machine, whatever you've got, you should be fine with pretty much whatever you have. Even if you have an older version of Excel, that's fine. The only things that I know in the past people have had issues with is it's difficult to use Excel on a tablet, I should say on like an iPad type thing, so something that doesn't have a mouse or a trackpad sort of thing. It can be a little weird because you have to highlight stuff and sort of click on stuff, which you can't really do on an iPad. So hopefully you're on some device that has an actual keyboard and a mouse, right, or a mouse pad, which for the most part, obviously any sort of computer or laptop is fine. If you do choose to, so hopefully you already have Microsoft Excel. It's pretty standard software. If you don't, you are welcome to there are computers in our library or wherever you might be located. There's probably computers in some library that probably have it on there, or maybe you have it on your computer at work or something like that. So hopefully you can find some device, some computer that has Excel. If you do purchase it, or if you don't have it, and do purchase it, you can either purchase it as part of a Microsoft Office package, which is obviously more expensive, or you can individually purchase Microsoft Excel. And again, any version that you purchase or any version that you have will have the commands that we need there. So please do make sure you get your hands on Microsoft Excel if you don't already have one. And other things you probably want, even though this is an online course, it's pretty impossible to do math like in your head and or on a computer. So of course, I think you will want a notebook of some sort for you to do a couple of things. I think as you watch the lecture videos, my best advice is to pretend you're in class and I'm standing in front of you and you're taking notes. So I would say for sure you want a notebook to take notes. And also, of course, to do any sort of problems, you certainly are going to need Scratch workspace and need to, write out the computations you're doing and things like that. So for sure, I think you'll want a notebook. And the last thing you may want, and that you probably want, is some sort of simple calculator. Like a calculator on a cell phone is probably fine. Just to do some simple computations, like taking the square root of a number or something like that, you probably want a calculator for that. You don't need anything fancy, so don't worry about purchasing anything. I'm sure you have something already in your possession that can work just fine. So those are the sort of materials that I think you'll want/need. Lectures. So aside from the first unit where you're going to be reading the ebook to get the material, for all the rest of the units there are lecture videos posted on Canvas. And I'll show these to you when we go back over there. But these videos will pretty much explain everything that you need for the course. It'll be fairly traditional, where first I'll go through the material and do some examples embedded in those lecture videos. And of course, I'll show you either as we go along, or I think for one of the units I made a separate video, but there'll also be the here's how you do this in Excel portion of the lectures as well. I should say the textbook, the ebook, also has lecture videos and demos, which you're welcome to look at if you want, but these are certainly not required. And every now and then I have a student who's like, oh, I didn't know that there was, because it's repetitive. Most of the stuff that you're going to see in the book and in the videos in the book are the same things that are covered in the lecture videos that I've made. But they're there for you in case you want them. You're welcome to use those for extra help. Your grade in the course is very easily computed. We'll be doing a midterm exam and a final exam. And again, each of those is based on the half of the material. And so those in total are 3/4 of your grade. And then the other quarter will come from the 6 homework assignments that you're going to be completing in MyStatLab. So it's a pretty simple grade formula. The grade book in Canvas, if you once we start getting going with the semester and there's grades in there, you can always look there to see how you're doing. If you've taken a Canvas course before, you may know that Canvas sort of projects what it thinks your grade is going to be. So as I enter grades for you for the various things, homework, it's going to assume, as soon as I put in one homework grade, it's going to assume that that's your average for this whole 25%. And as soon as I put in a midterm grade for you, it's going to assume that that's 3/4 of your grade. So, it sort of does that so that it's saying, well, if you keep doing about the same, here's what your grade is. So anyway, but that's the grade computation. So I'll say a couple of other things while we're still here in the syllabus. Homework, as I mentioned, is posted, and you'll be completing it through this MyStatLab thing. The questions that you see when you get in there, sort of the early questions in most of the assignments tend to be just sort of multiple choice, sometimes even true, false, or fill in blanks with some words. And then there's some computational questions where you're going to actually, obviously do some math and get a number probably at the end of the day that you're going to type in. I should say the system is very forgiving. So the way that it's set up is that you can redo homework problems and still get credit for them as many times as you want. And I'll show you how to do this when we get there. But if you make a guess and your guess is wrong, it, for the most part, lets you immediately make a second guess. Sometimes it gives you some advice or some hints about, oh, remember this is talking about blah, 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 or something like that. But even after you've gotten it wrong, it'll sort of then say, okay, you got that wrong. You are able to still go back and redo the whole problem. Or a similar version of the same problem. And if you get that right, you still get credit for it. So the homework in many ways is where you're going to hopefully be getting the practice that you need to be able to perform, on the exams, which obviously most of your grade is based on your exam performance and not so much the homework. But the homework piece is there to give you an opportunity to practice. So I will say, when you're doing homework, and I'll probably remind you of this throughout the semester, I know it's tempting to sort of be like, oh, this is the place where I go and get points for doing homework. I mean, sure. But I would say that's really not the right idea. The right idea is to say, this is the place where I'm going to figure out whether I actually know what I'm doing with problems, and to get practice with doing these kinds of questions and to really deeply understand how to do these problems and to do these questions. The exams will not just be the homework problems, rearranged with new numbers or anything like that. So you do have to kind of actually understand fully what you're doing. Now, I think if you can say that about the homework problems, you should do fine on the exams. But I think sometimes, we tend to be like, okay, well, homework, if I get points for a problem, that means I know how to do it. And that's really dangerous with this sort of format, because you can redo a problem 7, 8, 9 times until you get it right. Now, while I think that's important and good news for your sort of grade perspective, the wrong perspective to have is, well, let me try some things. I don't really know what I'm doing, but probably on my 4th or 5th try, I might just get it right, and then I can move on to the next problem. That's not a great strategy. A far better thing to do is, you're trying the problems, you're doing it once or twice, and then if you're stuck, go back and try to rewatch portions of the lecture videos where we did problems that are similar to that. Try to review your notes on this. Try to organize your thoughts. So sort of really sit down and try to plan out. Okay, I'm not getting this right. I tried it a few times, so let me really try to figure out where I'm going wrong here. And of course, I'm happy to give you some advice in that regard. If you let me know what you've done so far, I can sort of probably steer you in the right direction. But I just say this as a caution here on the intro video that getting the points for the homework, while that's nice and that's important, it really is about you at the end of the assignment, kind of regardless of your grade, saying, I feel comfortable doing problems like these. And I understand why we do this step and then this step and then that step. And that when I see these problems or ones that are on the similar topics on an exam, I will be like, oh yeah, that's a thing I know how to do. So anyway, so please, I guess, treat the homework like it ought to be, which is that it's something that is where you're learning and figuring out the things you don't know. I mean, if you breeze through the homework and are getting everything right on the first try or second try, great. Then you're probably in very good shape. Okay, so the homework, of course, assignments, which I'll show you, they do have due dates, and roughly one thing a week, although the beginning of the course is a little more frequent. So please do make sure you complete the homework by the due dates. Since the entire course is laid out for you and available for you to work on from the very first day of the semester, there really is no excuse if you don't complete an assignment on time. So while the system will let you complete the assignments late, there is this pretty steep lateness penalty. So please don't fall into that category of, oh, I'm going to turn in this first assignment a few days late, because then the second assignment is due a few days after that, which means you're probably going to be like, oh, I got to do that one late too. And it just ends up being a sort of a cycle. So please do try to stay on top of the due dates. And even last minute emergencies like crashes is not an excuse, since you have plenty of time to work on these things. So please be mindful of those, and ditto for exams, of course. The exams also have due dates. The exams are going to be administered through Canvas, so you're going to go to Canvas as opposed to my stat lab for that. There will be some similarity between them and the homework, of course, or at least in terms of topics covered, but they will have a different flavor because I'm making up those questions and not the book. But again, the idea is that if you feel like you fully understand the homework, you should do fine on exams. They are timed exams, so you will need to, my advice is always study like you're studying for a paper and pencil exam, of having all your material in your brain as opposed to the I'm going to go look things up during an exam. Of course, I can't really stop you from looking things up, so of course it's fine to use your notes and things on Canvas or Excel or any thing like that during the exam. But I sort of recommend you not think about relying or not fall back on relying on that because the time goes by rather quickly. So, and the last thing I'll just say, which I think I already mentioned, right, is that this is a full 3 credit course condensed into about a 7-week window or so. And so you will be expected to work about 20 hours a week on this course. So if you're looking at, again, your life schedule and you're seeing like, ooh, let's see, well, I'm going to be away for a week. And also I got that other thing and a major thing at work or something like that. If this isn't the right time, you may be happier in a different semester. I will say, though, that if you do have life things, there are holidays and other things that fall in our semester, it's fine to take a break from the course. But just be aware that there are due dates for things kind of throughout the 7 or 8 week period. So if you are in need of I'm not going to be able to do anything for the course for a week, just make sure you've worked ahead so that you've completed all the work before it's all due. And again, as I mentioned before, there's no extensions for any reason for any assignments or exams. If you get extended time for exams or some other accommodation, please let me know, and please be in contact with the Student Support Office, and that's an easy thing for me to adjust in Canvas. So I think that's it for the syllabus. So let me close that and come back here to Canvas one more time. As now that I've gone through a bunch of these things, let me just sort of show you where they are in Canvas. So for a typical week, I'll just click on a random week like this one, or a typical unit. There's roughly 4 things that you see in most of these. There's announcements. I used to use this, I think, more for the it's this week, and now that you're going to be working on these things, kind of a thing. So you're welcome to look at these if you want, but for the most part, these don't really say a whole heck of a lot. The things that you do want to click on for each unit is the first link you see here are lecture videos. So if you click on this, the videos, as you can see, are right here. These are YouTube videos, so you can of course just hit play, and they'll play right here in Canvas.
Okay, so welcome to Chapter 5.
Myself here. You can watch them right here if you want, and obviously, you can skip ahead and do the usual sorts of things that you can do in YouTube. If you want a full screen situation, you can obviously hit the lower right corner here for full screen. If you want to watch it in YouTube, just because that's more of a familiar environment for you, if you click on this, you'll be able to do that. If you want captions, which sometimes is actually useful, although it does a little bit sort of go on top of some of the text on the screen, you're welcome to turn those on. Sometimes people say they have a little bit of trouble hearing everything in the video, so if you're having a little trouble with that and turning the volume up doesn't do the trick, headphones are usually an easy fix to that problem. So hopefully you're okay with being able to hear the videos. But anyway, there's for most of the units there's at least a few lecture videos to watch. So obviously this is the equivalent of being in class, so to speak. So of course you want to watch these videos, and like I said, take notes. I find that most students are better off watching the videos a couple of times, just because the first time through you're kind of getting the general idea of things, but then a second or third time, and probably the second time through, you're doing the Let me move ahead to the part that I needed more on. Oh, okay, that's right. I needed to know more about this, and then hit play and stuff like that. But don't do that for the first time through. Again, I'm pretty sure I have students every semester that by quote unquote watching the videos, they're watching this 55-minute video in about 10 minutes. You need to watch this in 55 minutes and 39 seconds, not 10 minutes. So, in fact, I would say, as I mentioned, rewatching them is also good advice, especially maybe the second time through, focusing on some of the example problems to sort of drive those points home. But that might be more of something that you do as you're watching or as you're trying to complete the homework problems, and then saying, "Oh, I need to rewatch that 10-minute portion where he did an example, that's like the one I'm trying to do." Anyway, so these are the lecture videos. You see these, and you'll see these for all of the topics, except for the first topic. So for the first topic, you're obviously watching the intro video here. But for the first assignment, I will ask you to actually read the ebook, which I'll show you. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And there's only 3 sections in the first chapter. So for the first chapter, I'll have you read the book and do the homework in my stat lab. But for all the other sections, you're going to be coming here to Canvas and watching these lecture videos, which, as you can see, is sort of the first main link in each of the units. Okay. The other thing that you see in each of the units are slides. These are simply the PowerPoint slides that I go through in the videos. So sometimes students like to have the slides, like the blank slides, so that maybe you print those out and use those as your notes or something like that. So there's nothing new here. The slides are just the same thing that's in the videos. But if you want them, they're here for you. And then the other thing that you see in each unit is a link or a Canvas assignment for each homework assignment. Now, when you click on any of these, there isn't really anything here. Sometimes there's a little bit of advice, I suppose, but for the most part, this is just saying, hey, go to my stat lab and complete the homework for this chapter. So you're not going to actually be completing the homework here at all. For that, you're going to go over to my stat lab and complete them. But I put them in Canvas. There's due dates here, and these match the due dates that are in my stat lab. So this is a nice way of you hopefully being on top of due dates, is that they're here in Canvas. And also this lets me enter a grade for you for these things, which means the grade book in Canvas can be the only grade book that you really need to be looking at. I will say that the grades, the homework grades from my stat lab don't automatically transfer over here to Canvas. I have to manually enter them. So don't freak out if you completed an assignment in my stat lab and then you come over here to Canvas and you look at your grade and there isn't a grade for it just yet. I promise, as long as it says whatever score you got in my stat lab, I promise that grade, I will eventually copy it over here to Canvas. Okay, so I think that's it for Canvas stuff. Sorry. So that's the instructional units are laid out like that. The exams, both the midterm and the final, for each of them, first click on the first link, which gives you, as it says, details and instructions about what's covered on the exam and how long you have, and all that other good stuff is just described here. So for sure you want to click on that and look at that. And then the exam itself is here. So the little rocket ship, I don't know why they went with that, is the symbol for an actual exam. So the midterm and the final you'll be completing here in Canvas. And just like any other exam, there's questions that are on the screen. You don't have to do them in order. You can jump around if you want, although for the final especially, the questions kind of build on each other, so you probably do want to do them in order. But when you're ready to take the exams, they're here. There are due dates, of course, for those as well, so please be mindful of those. You can only take the exam once, so that's the sort of what makes them harder than the homework is you can't mess something up and then say, oh, let me go back and redo it. So this is, of course, the whole idea is that you're perfecting your skills in homework so that you get the exams right, since you only get one shot at the questions on the exam. Okay, if you've never taken a Canvas course before, when you do click on this, you can click on the exam. I mean, nothing bad's going to happen. And you get, again, this is just a little message about how long you have and blah, 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 and advice and all that. But as soon as you come down here, and I think mine says preview, but I think yours says start the quiz or go to the quiz, something like that. As soon as you hit that, it's going to start. And since it's a timed exam and you only get one shot at it, as soon as you hit this, you're in, which means you have to complete it in that hour, 2 hour, or however long you have for the exam. So don't hit start the quiz until you're actually ready to do the exam. Okay, so I think that's it for Canvas. The last thing I'll show you is how to get set up with the ebook and the homework system. So if you click on this link here, which I won't click on, but if you click on this gives you instructions for how to register for My Stat Lab, which is our online homework system and ebook. So if you click on that, it's very self-explanatory. You should be able to sign up for the for these packaged together. You enter a course code and obviously you create an account and all that usual stuff. I believe the cost is somewhere in the $110 to $120-ish range for everything. So so that's here. You can do a trial period. I think it probably, as you're getting set up, it says something like, do you want to take I don't know how long, is a week or 10-day trial or something like that. If you're not sure if you're staying in the course, I guess that's probably not a terrible idea to do the trial if you want. But you do need to, at some point, obviously purchase full access to the book. Because I think the trial is that, like I said, it's about a week or 10 days or something like that. So if you click on this and to go over to My Stat Lab, I'll show you what it looks like. So My Stat Lab more or less looks like this when you log into your account. Your homepage might look a little different than mine, but I'm going to show you you don't need a whole lot of things here, just a few things to click on. There's all kinds of stuff over here, but for the most part, the only places you really need to click would be one, homework. So if you click on the homework tab over here on the left, it should bring you to a screen that looks something like this. And these are the homework assignments. So there's 6 of them. There's due dates that you can see over here on the left. And if you click on any one of the assignments, I'll just click on a random one. You probably want to start with the first one, but I'll click on this. It brings you to a screen that kind of looks like this, and this is sort of a summary screen. Again, it has the due date here. It tells you what your current score is, which is updated as you complete problems. And then the problems themselves are down here. So again, probably you want to start with the first question and sort of keep going. I'm going to just be weird here and start with a random question here. But this is what the interface looks like. It pops up a little window here, and then there's a question. Sometimes there's more than one part to a question, in which case do them in order. And other times it's just a single question. Some questions, like I said, are multiple choice or kind of conceptual, I guess. But obviously a lot of them are computational, where you're going to read this question over here. Some of them have a graph to look at. And then probably on paper, I mean, unless you're really, really good, I would say on paper you want to start working out this problem and take however long it's going to take for you to do it. And then when you're finished and ready to enter an answer, when you click on the space here, it's going to be wanting you to enter an answer, a numerical answer. For the most part, you should be able to just type this in on the keyboard. I have no idea what the actual answer is to this question, so I'm just going to make up a number. And then when you hit down here in the lower right corner, check answer, it's going to check. And obviously, probably my random answer is not right. And it tries to give you a little bit of advice here. My advice about the advice is that sometimes it is helpful, but sometimes, to be honest, the advice is not super helpful. And some of that is because the book doesn't necessarily the book does not tell you how to do things in Excel. And sometimes it refers you to kind of a longer way, I guess, to do a problem. So sometimes this advice is going to talk about, you should pull out a chart and do sometimes that's really not that helpful. Instead, my best advice to you is to look in the notes and look in the lecture videos for examples that are similar. And there you should be able to find pretty good advice that helps you with the questions. So if I get it wrong, which I just did, of course, it immediately lets me try again. So again, I still have no idea what the answer to this question is, so I'll make up a different random number and I'll say check answer. And it probably gives me the same advice here. And then for a problem like this, that's a numerical answer, it's going to let me try 3 times, I believe, is the magic number. Let me at least see if I can get close to the right answer just based on the graph there. And then as you see here, it's going to say final check or final answer or something like that. So I'll click that, and it's still wrong. Okay, so what it's going to do on your sort of quote-unquote final chance is it's going to it's going to tell you the correct answer. Now, it's not going to tell you a whole lot about how to do that, but at least it'll show you the computational or the numerical answer here. So of course, sometimes that's helpful that you can sort of see, oh yeah, I did the wrong kind of question and the answer was sort of the reverse or something like that. So sometimes just seeing the answer is actually quite helpful, that then you can say, oh, all right, I think I know what I did wrong. Or maybe it's the case that your answer was almost right. So for example, maybe I entered 0.27 and the answer is 0.2704. Okay, then your answer is only wrong because you rounded a little too much. So if you want, you can go back through and just don't round as much. Or, to be honest, if you end up in a situation where you're like off by practically nothing and it's still kind of being a little fussy about rounding, just skip it. And if you want, you can always email me and let me know that you got the question right, but the system was just being a little fussy. I should say, though, this would be wrong. I mean, 0.23 is not the right answer. So this is not the, oh, I was pretty close. No. This was significantly off. But again, if I got 0.27 and the answer is 0.2704, that probably means you did the problem right. You just sort of rounded a little too much. Okay, anyway. So when you get a problem wrong, you can obviously say, I'm done with this, or I want to come back to it later. That's fine. You can say next question if you want. But if you want to, you can actually just ask for the same question to be given to you once again. So you can click on similar question, and then it's going to give you not exactly the same question, because of course you could then cheat and just type in the answer that they just told you, but they'll give you the same question, mostly with different numbers or a slightly different setup. And if you complete the question here and get it right, it still gives you credit for it. Okay? So you can go back and try again, and it'll let you make your guesses and all that good stuff. So when you feel like you're finished with a problem or you finished working on problems, you can travel around and say, let me go to the next question, or you can click on this for like a pull down thing, and you can say, you know what, I got question 10 wrong, so let me start at question 1, which probably makes more sense, and so on and so forth. You can click around and do all sorts of things. Maybe I think this is one I actually know, so I'll say 1. And maybe I get this one right. Okay, so just to show you what happens when you get a question right, that's nice. You can obviously, you probably don't want to redo a question that you got right. But whenever you're finished working and you say, okay, I'm done working, just hit save up here in the upper right corner. I believe even if you try to close this window without saving, I think it says something like, hey, don't you want to save this? But just to be on the safe side. If you hit save, it'll save whatever work you've done. And then now this little display of the assignment is sort of up to date with whatever we just did in the last 5 minutes. We got one question right, so of course there's a green check for that. We got this question wrong, so there's a red X. But again, you could come in tomorrow or the day after, and if you click on anything you got wrong, it still lets you redo them. So, right, so it's letting me redo this whole question again. And if I get it right, this red X will turn into a green check, and you'll get the points. Okay, so it's a pretty reasonable system. As you work through the assignments, obviously, if you get them all right, you'll have green checks everywhere. This will be 100% instead of 7%, which is where I'm at right now. And as long as whatever grade is showing here, you're happy with, and say, okay, I'm done with this assignment. These are the grades that I'll be able to then transfer over. So don't worry about hitting submit or anything like that. As you're working through these, when you hit save, that's submitting it. So, and I'll of course wait until the due date in order to see, oh, okay, he or she is done now, and you got a 93%. So after the due date, I'll copy these grades over into Canvas. Okay, so that's the homework. So obviously that's mostly what you're going to be doing here in my stat lab. So so again, clicking on the homework tab brings you to the homework assignments. The other thing that you might, of course, want to look at, and that you need to look at for the first homework assignment, this Intro to Stats assignment, is you need to actually access the ebook. So to get to the ebook, I don't know why they didn't just put textbook over here as one of the options, but they chose to list the ebook or get to the ebook by clicking chapter contents. So if you click on chapter contents, this is the ebook. So these are the chapters of the book. So you can obviously click on any chapter. We'll be doing chapters 1, 2, 5, 6, and 9, I think. the reason for this sort of skipping around is that there's a lot of probability and stuff that, which while we'll do some, this is more of an applied course, so we're sort of skipping some chapters, but don't worry about that. But for the first assignment, you do need to read chapter 1. So if you click on any of the chapters, and then there's a bunch of stuff over here, but the sections are the actual book. So if you click on any of the sections, I'll click on section 1.1. If you click on this View Multimedia e-text, a window will pop up, and it'll be an ebook, or it'll be a textbook, right? So it's sort of almost like looking at a PDF, so to speak. So if you click on this, you'll get the actual textbook. So for the first assignment, you're going to click on sections 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, and read the textbook. All right? All of this other stuff that's in here, I mean, you've paid for it, so you're welcome to use it. These videos that are in each section are, I don't know if I click on it, these videos are videos, right? So, I mean, you're welcome to watch these if you want, but these are not my videos. These are the videos that the book made. So, but for any topic, if you want a little more advice and click on these, you'll get a video about that topic. All this other stuff, study plan, and there's quizzes and tests, and there's all this other, there's review problems. None of the rest of this stuff is going to be expected that you complete any of this. However, I know some students do it because it's extra practice, so you are welcome to come in here and click around and do these if you want. But nothing is required of you except for the things that are on the go back to the main menu here. Homework, right? This is the only thing. These 6 things are the only graded things that are counting towards your grade in the course. Okay, so that's my stat lab, I think, in a nutshell, and I think that's the course in a nutshell. So sign up for my stat lab. You click here for that, and as soon as you do that, you're ready to go. So I encourage you to begin the course as soon as you can. Again, you don't have to wait until the official start date for the course, which I think is the 28th. You're welcome to start now, whenever now is for you. The first assignment is due November 1st, which I think is a Friday, I think. So please, that's the day after Halloween. So please make sure you complete the first assignment. The first assignment, I'll just be honest, is super, super easy and short. So this shouldn't take you more than, I don't know, an hour or 2 at the most to read the material in the ebook and then do this brief homework assignment. Now, I say that just to say, don't let that deceive you. We start out with a nice easy assignment because people are still sort of getting set up for the course and everything. But starting in the second unit, it's a much longer. I think there's about 5 hours of videos for you to watch. And the homework is certainly going to take you much, much, much longer in the second unit. The second assignment is due November 6th, which I think is a Wednesday. The third assignment is due November 13th, which I think is also a Wednesday. And then the midterm is due November 17th, which I think is a Sunday. I put 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for everything. So for homework assignments, exams, everything is 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So whatever time zone you're in, you have to adjust for that. And the due dates are all listed here. So just sort of maybe as you're getting started, there's 8 due dates because there's 8 things you're doing, 6 homework assignments and 2 exams. So just, maybe put those on your calendar, in your phone calendar or whatever you use for planning. As I'm scrolling through this, I'll say the midterm is on the first 3 units. So as soon as you're finished with units 1, 2, and 3, you can do the midterm. I mean, study and all that stuff, but you don't have to wait till November 17th. You could do it on November 3rd or whatever, right? So whenever you're ready to take this, take it. The first half of the semester, I think the material is pretty straightforward. I never like to say the word easy, but I'll say it's pretty straightforward. So hopefully you do pretty well with the material, and hopefully you do well on the midterm. The material in the second half of the semester, which is units 4, 5, and 6, is harder. So I say this as an upfront thing. It's great to do well in the first half, but do be aware that the second half is going to require far more time and effort on your part. So, and unfortunately, the way the semester is laid out, that naturally falls towards the end of November and then for December. Now, I did give you more time to do the assignments in the second half of the semester, so I think you have more like 10 days, if you look at the difference between these. 10 days for that assignment, I think another 10 days or so for the second one. since those are both much, much longer and much, much harder topics. So I say all of this not to freak you out, maybe a little bit to freak you out, but also just to say, please work ahead. I think that's your best friend is working ahead, again, especially if you have busy things, if you're traveling for the holidays or anything like that. Work ahead and make sure that you leave yourself plenty of time to complete these things. So good luck in the course. I'll check in every now and then, but not too frequently. So I'll mostly be letting you all do all of this on your own. But I am here for you if you need me for anything. So please feel free to send me an email if you have questions. If you have questions about problems, like homework problems or other things, I will ask/require that you do tell me what you've done to try to complete a problem. So it's not that helpful if you tell me I'm stuck on number 17 in homework 3. That doesn't really help me a whole lot. So instead, a better thing to do is to, if you want to type, you can type in, well, here's the stuff that I've tried so far. But I'm very happy receiving photos of work that you've done. So if you've tried a problem on paper, which you should be doing all your problems on paper, and you're not getting the right answer, just take a quick picture of it and attach it to the email and say, I'm stuck on number 17 in homework 3, and here's what I've done to try it so far, and I can't see, or I can't see what I'm doing wrong. It's far easier for me to give you advice than say, oh, you know what, I think you're just missing this one step or whatever, if I can see what you've done. So if you have a question about a problem, please send me a picture of whatever you've done to try the question. If your question is, I'm totally lost and I don't know how to do this, my answer to you is always going to be, rewatch all the videos in this unit and try to sort of summarize in your own words what the videos say. Rewatch the portions of the videos where we do example problems. I promise you that in the videos, I do examples that are like pretty much all of the homework problems. So I know there's sometimes they'll like, I have no idea how to do this problem, and he hasn't explained to us how to do this problem. I promise you I have. So I will mostly be telling you to go back and review the videos if you are in a I'm totally lost situation, which hopefully won't happen. But if you are, that's my best preliminary advice. But please do reach out if you have any questions, and good luck with the course.